to read verbatim the instructions in PDF format. Okay, opening by moderator, me. My introduction is consequential, I guess. My name is Jason. I'm a voodoo shaman from New Orleans. I'm up here on vacation to visit my friend Christine Soltis. We're here to discuss horror. Horror. That's next. That's next panel. We will start all the way down at the end. Mr. David, a brief introduction, sir, on who you are and what you do.
Well, I wrote this book. That's my debut novel. But before that, I was doing Kettle Whistle Radio. You guys take one of these on your way out. It's a podcast about horror, very convenient, and music, science fiction, comic books, you name it, everything that we're all about here. And I always have new artists, directors, and actresses, whatever, actors on the show. And we try to promote new music all the time on top of new horror. And I've been published here. My first signing was actually here with Chris with the Big Book of Bizarro, and you guys remember that. And I've been published since about 4 times, but this is my first whole novel that's out right now. And I followed in the vein of Dracula, the original. I went back to that for basics and made it's a story, a bunch of journals basically from survivors of the demon Holocaust, and how it's nothing like the World War Z. I made it just the opposite because that book kind of pissed me off a lot. But this is more about the characters and original monsters. And I just wanted, I love zombies, but you had to do something different. And that's what's going on right now. So I've been going around with this book to conventions and stuff and trying to get it out there. But mostly concentrating on the radio show and my lovely assistant's right there, Ms. D. And we're all about music first and horror second. If they mix, well then that's basically what we're here for right now, how it affects culture. So I don't know, you want more?
Good. You're all about what, you said?
Music first and then horror. If they mix, then it's just
I'm all about that bass, no trouble.
I have to agree with that too.
Culturally acceptable there. Next we have the queen of horror realm, the lovely Sandy.
Thank you. Sandy Stuhlfire. I am the owner and one of the promoters of Horror Realm. We do 2 horror conventions a year in Pittsburgh. We've been doing it since 2009, and we also do a lot of different events throughout the year, horror-themed entertainment events and charity events. And we like to do things that help support the horror community, the independent filmmakers and authors and musicians and artists that are in the genre.
And lastly, a guy I picked up on the sidewalk, who walks from here, Rickert Beagle. Did I pronounce that right? It's close to that, right? Beagle, a.k.a. Benzy.
That was a good interpretation.
Who has said all but 20 minutes ago, we have witnesses, that he really doesn't like horror much anyway. But anyway, here to discuss horror.
We're going to discuss real horror.
My friend Eric.
My name is Benzy.
I like the other one better.
Well, you can call me. I don't care anymore. It's too hard.
Yeah, more
Thanks
chicken,
for
there you go.
this.
Yeah, more of that, dude. Call him Tom after
Yeah,
this. It
call
don't
me,
matter.
call me Tom. It'll work out. But my name is Benzy. I'm the owner of Benzy Dream Effects Studio. I'm an effects artist and actor in Pittsburgh. And never seen Night of the Living Dead. Sorry.
Who is not seen that?
But I have seen my fair share of Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street. I watched the more common growing up. Stuff that wasn't like,
Archie Bunker.
yeah, Archie Bunker.
I quote a few that you said earlier. Excellent. Excellent. Mr. Benzy. Shall we begin, Christine, with the first questions, or would you like to say anything
Well, I
to
think
your
you
audience?
could also introduce yourself.
I'm a voodoo shaman.
Okay.
He's a
And
voodoo ShamWow.
He too was found
Yeah.
this dude.
I think so. He was holding a wine bottle. So we
This is as close as Pittsburgh as I get. You can ask Mike,
The one.
and you can ask Benzy. Mike makes me come down to the studio. That's the closest I get to Pittsburgh. Would you like to address the crowd first?
Oh no, I was just going to say, I'm Christine Soltis. I arrange this panel. We do them every 3 months or so. Chris Rickert Beagle Books. We want to thank them, first of all, for hosting these panels. I know, big round of applause for her. She's like Superwoman. And then the next panel is going to be about ghosts in November, but right now we're discussing horror fanatics, essentially people who, work in the horror field in some way or the other. I think that they're a great blend here, because they're all doing different things. And we have 4 questions that we're going to ask them. And then I have bonus questions myself, and whatever you guys think about, as it's going. Feel free to talk with them. If it does start to get off track or something, hopefully Jason will bring out that room and just it's pretty fun. We'll focus
Pass
on
it out.
Next time, we're going to cut him off the line.
Yeah.
But,
I'll do that.
you can go ahead and
All right, let's start with Mr. David down there at the end. First question. What does horror mean to you? Now feel free to tie that into your life and elaborate on your first experiences with horror.
Okay, I do have a cheat sheet here because I'm a writer, not a speaker, so I want to make sure that I hit everything I want, I was supposed to hit. But escapism is the big one. Getting away from the everyday, turning on the news, it's always a lot more horrific than watching a horror movie. I could watch 5 horror movies and be happy. Put on the news for 5 minutes and it's all crap. I like believing in monsters in this microcosmic world where people actually band together instead of fighting each other. And it was just different. I don't know. I got into it real early. It's just something about people fighting a common enemy instead of just each other and just the news and all that. And other than escapism, I have to say bonding. And probably this guy knows what I'm talking about. Most metal fans and extreme music fans like horror. It kind of goes hand in hand. And I mean, you can go back as far back as Black Sabbath. They got their name from the movie Black Sabbath. But Iron Maiden, and all these bands derive a lot of their full albums sometimes from horror books and movies. And I read all of that stuff, including Stephen King. I read all this stuff really early. But I have to say my first falling in love with horror was being allowed to stay up late at night with my grandmother. Was from Washington, PA, when I lived in New York. I lived from New York. She let me stay up at night, and we watched Creature from the Black Lagoon at midnight. And that changed everything for me. And this is, we're talking the 70s. And just original monster, and just the timing of it, staying up late and getting to watch it. Then, after that, I was like, what is the next Saturday? What's on at midnight? And just one thing led to the next. So it was like Day of the Triffids, really bad British movie, but fun movie at the same time. I loved it. Invasion of the Body Snatchers sticks out too, the black and white one before the 80s version. And Grandma let me stay up and watch these things. And she, the first time I was not allowed to stay up was Night of the Living Dead. And my parents said, no, you go to bed, let your grandma stay up. My grandmother stayed up, watched it for me, and interpreted the whole movie to me the next morning over breakfast. And I'm like, oh, I gotta see this thing. And I was only like 7 at the time. And eventually I would see that. It would become like everything to me. I don't know if you guys have it out here so much in Pittsburgh, but Saturday mornings in New York, we'd get horror movies. After cartoons were over, we'd get Godzilla, Gamera, and all these crazy movies, including like black and white ones. Beast from a Haunted Cave stands out. That's a great one. It Came from Outer Space. And a lot of them were cheesy, but even in the cheese, you found something you liked. Like whether it was the atmosphere, the characters, the monsters. And there was a reason to just watch these things or not go outside and play right away. And eventually get kicked outside. But yeah, it goes back to just escapism, bonding with friends at a sleepover, a reason to all get together, watch Halloween, and it still happens. So that's really what it means to me and where it goes back to.
Sandy, same question. Would you like to repeat it?
No, that's okay. Thank you. But I have very similar answers. For me, it's entertainment. It's for escaping from the crappy job and all that stuff. But it's also the thrill of it. It's like it's like riding a roller coaster. It's that adrenaline going. You're gonna hopefully be scared in the movie. Although I do like a lot of horror comedy as well. But being a native Pittsburgher, I go back to growing up at Chiller Theater and Chiller Billy. So from a very young age, and I go back farther than you, obviously. But we're talking in the mid to late '60s, watching horror movies late at night with my father and my brothers, and so it was good bonding in the family. And then later, as you get older and you find friends that have that common interest, now you have you're building a community with people that share that interest in horror movies and horror fiction, and it's just a good thing.
Very repeat that question.
so. What does horror mean to you? Feel free to tie it in your life. And elaborate on first experiences with horror.
I can definitely tell you about my first experiences with horror because I was quite the opposite. I was forbidden to watch anything related to horror. Yeah, it was bad. I wasn't allowed to watch MTV. I'd be like making sure they were asleep. I wasn't allowed to do anything. So that's why I got into it, because I wasn't allowed. That made it fun. And then I see this one kid had a Gore Zone magazine that has like Fango magazines and probably had about 100 of them stashed under his bed. I'm like, oh my god, man, there's dead people with blood on them. Good. And it's a good show.
Oh, you turned that on.
You're fired.
She's with you, right?
Everybody's alright. So horror means to me is like something, I don't know, with me at this point, it's I don't know, I've done a lot of horror movies, done effects, acted in a bunch of them, and it's something that really it honestly just kind of easy to me. One of those things where I don't know, just capturing that emotion and that the chill into people that aren't used to watching it and aren't used to just doing it. We do it every day. It becomes it's a living. It becomes something you eat, sleep, and breathe every day. But that thing when you can create something, somebody can watch it and get that raw emotion of the chill and watching their expressions. And some of my most favorite things is actually that I didn't really think that I would like it that much is doing theater and doing live gore effects and watching that audience. Like, you have people that are on the stage for a half hour and then all of a sudden they're getting shot, there's stabbings, there's everything. People just they can't they watch people everybody just got murdered in front of them. They can't figure out how. Meanwhile, it's just
You told me.
couple mustard bottles. Yeah, like that's probably that's what it definitely means to me. It's just that giving that original high that I got years ago that I'll never get back, and it won't. The magic's ruined once you know how it's done. How it's it's kind of sad, but you can give it to people that it's the watching audience, and that's really awesome.
Shall I answer that question?
Certainly. Please do.
My earliest memories of horror were probably for a little kid. I remember watching Dark Crystal, and I mean that's supposed to be scary, but I think it terrifies probably a 4-year-old. I can remember we had a hot box at my house, totally legal. Whatever. It was always on HBO. I can remember the Thriller, Michael Jackson's video, scaring me. I remember going to the drive-in to see Ghostbusters, which I'm going this Sunday to see it. But I remember, now Ghostbusters, you watch today, you're like, this is awesome. But, 3 or 4 when it came out, I was absolutely terrified by those dogs. I was like, oh my god, this is the scariest thing.
I didn't make it past the first scene in the library, get her.
Yeah, I remember that. I'm like, oh, my mom's like, this is funny. The library goes, I was just like,
I ran out of the theater when I saw E.T. I was out, dude.
And then probably around 10 or 11, maybe 12, I was at a buddy's house, and he had an old cassette tape, dubbed of course, of Night of the Living Dead, the black and white. And I remember staying up late watching it. He fell asleep, and I'm thinking as I'm watching this, my mind is immediately going to Zombie Planet. We all have one, don't lie. You have a Zombie Planet at your house. I know you do. And I'm looking around his house, and I'm like, there's all these windows, and I'd have to board all this. And I remember that movie stuck with me so much. Like everywhere I would go for like the years, I would be like, oh wow, okay, I have to move all these over here and barricade this in. And one day I vowed that one day I will make a crappy zombie movie. And I did. The end. But I have a comfort zone with horror. Like, nothing's better to me than a Saturday afternoon and you just have like, you know, you're doing something, you have like Phantasm on in the background, you know, and it's going. Or whatever, and it's just going, and it just feels home. I'd rather do that than I hate serious movies that are trying to teach you a lesson. I don't like that. I mean, if I want to learn, I'll read a book, you know. But like a nice, comfortable, you know, even like Night Shift, you know, Stephen King, kind of cheesy. But you know, if that movie's on in the background, you know, it brings me a level of calmness. You know, I'm not as jaded as others on the panel. You know, I still find it very scary. You know, I even know that it's fake. I like to be scared. That's it. Christine, are you like to elaborate, or shall we move on?
No, go ahead.
All right. I will start with Sandy this time. Work this way and loop back
Very
around.
nice.
In comparison to horror from decades ago, is the genre doing better or worse in regards to horror books, films, and conventions in 2014?
Well, I think it's definitely a lot more mainstream. You've got a lot of, you know, you've got Walking Dead and True Blood and Grimm and Sleepy Hollow and all those kind of horror-themed TV shows on. I can tell you, just from being a horror convention promoter, that there are a ton of horror conventions out there. It's very competitive, so, you know, people think, hey, I can put on this show. So, you know, you see them pop up and then they disappear. There's a lot of that. I think definitely literature, there's a lot more out there. And of course, with everything being so available on demand now, being able to see movies or you know, books, read books on your electric devices, you know, it's a lot more convenient and a lot more available than it's been in the past.
Benzy.
What's that question?
In comparison to horror from decades ago, is the genre doing better or worse in regards to horror books, films, and conventions in 2014?
So I'm gonna just stick on the film thing.
Okay.
I don't think a horror film should be rated PG-13,
Ooh.
and that really kills me every time a horror movie comes out. So I can honestly tell you I have not really seen any new horror movies. Like, you know, I always stick, you know, with the older stuff, or, you know, let's make our own. I don't know, there's just something about, you know, a horror, life is not PG-13. Life is X. Like, why would you make a horror movie, like, trying to freak people out and scare people? It's PG-13, I just don't get it. So, and it also, it's one of those things where, I mean, we can walk into Best Buy or, you know, and get ourselves a credit card and walk out with HD cameras and sound recorders and everything. And it's just very wide open, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just so flooded with everybody doing, you know, the sifting through of how many, you know, how many movies that are just like, oh God, like, you know, compared to the good ones. It's different. With the digital era now, with how you watch your things, it's like $7.99 for Netflix. Like, you know, it's not like back in the day where you had to actually go to the theater and show your story. You know, it's a different genre. It has its positives and it has its negatives. You know, it's definitely different. Me personally, I loved it back in the day because it you know, that's when the magic was happening, and it was all there, shot in front of you. It wasn't like we have two layers here, and it's obvious that we're trying to mesh computers with this physical, and it looks like hell. It really does. It does not look good. Even though I do have a couple movies written that is like specifically for CGI, fine, cool, whatever. I mean, you know, I've got to go with the times a little bit, but like, there was something about like that, you know, back in the day, especially when you're naive as to how special effects should look on a screen, like, you know, somebody gets their throat cut or whatever, you know, it's just, it's there, it was in front of you, man. It's like, and that was the best part about it. Now it's just definitely a little different. Definitely a little different. And I don't know, I can't say if it's good or bad. But a horror movie should not be rated PG-13.
Do you want me to
That's
read?
the
Do you want me to read the question?
Hey, that touches my page.
All right.
We're gonna go back to David first.
Well, I got good and bad as far as the genre. Independent horror films have, the ones that are on Netflix that I've seen, they've grown in violence and unpredictability. I guess a lot of people got sick of the predictability of things and they're making it their own way, which I like that. Some of the mainstream too, but like I have a list here of recent impressive examples that are like on Netflix right now. Some are low budget, some went mainstream. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Alice Kills, serial killer female. There's a movie called Low, L-O, that's about a demon. VHS 1 and 2 I enjoyed for the found footage thing. Scream Park, of course, local, I love Scream Park. Random Acts of Violence is a good one to look up on Netflix. Here Comes the Devil is good, I think that's Spanish or Mexican made. Theater Bazaar was fun. American Mary and Lovely Molly is another good one.
Yeah.
House of the Devil, you saw that. House of the Devil is a good one. Those are all good ones. There's some foreign ones too. I'd say like Australian Grabbers. I don't know if you've seen that. That's pretty cool because if you're drunk in that movie, you're safe from monsters, which is a wild idea. I love that. Go home, watch it tonight. I'm telling you, it's hilarious. Grabbers, yeah. And the other one I have, well, the Ring series is good, but I like the Korean prequel, which is called Ringu, with a ring virus. Look that one up. It's better than the predecessors that they had. As far as the bad, no more remakes. I'm sick of remakes. I think we all are. Enough. There was one that came out that was good, Maniac. I kind of like that with Elijah Wood, because he was creepy. He can be creepy, but yeah, like the original Maniac, you can't compare because it was the first. But it was, if you had to have a remake, I'd say Maniac was good. But in a nutshell, I did wrap it up here with like vampires are weaker now, slashers are more intense, but there's not enough original monsters anymore. I think we need more of that. And you're talking about CGI. John Carpenter's original The Thing versus the prelude to The Thing that they just put out. The CGI killed all the scares because we already saw this and it was real. It was in your face. It was done with makeup and latex. Then you have CGI. It didn't hold up. So good and bad. I think that's the way I look at things today with horror.
There's definitely something about that CGI that just kills it.
Yeah, completely.
It really kills it.
I would have to also agree with the good and bad because there are, I think, some gems out there nowadays, like Tremors 3.
Ah.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's a great example. Some things done really right, from, top to bottom production. There are some things out there that I do find scary. I think the first Insidious, one thing with my film, I wanted to scare people in the daytime. And that was like the whole driving vision of my film. Like I want, like everybody has zombies at night. I wanted them in the daytime because I think that is something like that's hard to do. I mean, night's just scary to begin with. And I think there's a scene in Insidious where like it's daytime and like the lady looks in her house and there's like this ghost shadow dancing. I thought that was real creepy, and I do like some creepy concepts. Whether it's CGI, if CGI is done right, I don't mind it. But there still is a lot missing when you just more stuff that made you think. I really like a movie that like I said before, the Phantasms, the one John Carpenter film where like the big tank has Satan in it. What's that called? I know somebody knows it here. What is it?
Yeah.
Prince of Darkness. Like something like that makes you think. And then like at the end, like there was time travel going on. You know, like that stuff. Like I like that.
It's an unsung classic.
Yeah, and like you don't have a lot of that today because it is, it's violence, and it's more like it tries to shock you with so much, but it's really empty and shallow, and but I don't know. I think you can still find some good gems, but it is oversaturated, and maybe that's just. I think everything eventually it's popular or has a cult following will eventually. Hit a bubble where it's popular. Like I loved Walking Dead at first until everybody else liked it, and I'm like a snob like that where I don't like cool popular stuff. So I would. Then I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. Now everybody likes it. I don't like it anymore. And like with just even back in the day with like the evolution of the vampire, our evolution of monsters have become more romanticized, and with the popularity they've become, like, oh, I want to be a vampire, but I want to be cool though. You know, back in the day, you know, that was something. You know, if you're a vampire, you might be ugly. You know, and you want to kill. Every vampire nowadays falls in love, and it has to be a twisted love tale. And every vampire is tortured, and you know, and then he's torn by what he should do. What happened to just a vampire that wants to kill you? I mean, do monsters want to kill anymore, or do they don't? I mean, we have to
They
decide.
have feelings, they have to go to therapy.
Yeah, like they have no. You know, and eventually, like, you're going to hit even the more obscure one. Like, we're going to have a mummy eventually that's going to be like, some girl is going to fall in love with the mummy. And she's going to unwrap his face. It's going to be Brad Pitt, and it's going to be beautiful. I call it here first.
That's a reflection of our time. Now we take our dogs for, like, medication because we're depressed.
Yeah, exactly. And now we're back. Yeah, we're going back to traditional things, and we're blowing up nice things. In the 90s, late 90s, our culture was very anti-hero. And Rebel, and that's leaving again, and it's coming back to, what was that with all those Nintendo characters on it? I'm going to chase that band down, I'll be right back.
We can't go out there. You know.
Okay, so anyway, that's mine. I think you do find some gems, but just like anything else, I mean, no matter what your hobbies are, you know, in the 80s, collecting baseball cards was, man, you're going to make millions one day. And then, like, mid-90s, you're like, dude, everybody and their grandma has 400 billion cards. Your limited edition rookie card is worth 25 cents now. I think just everything eventually hits that bubble, that economic bubble, and blows up. So it's not just horror. It's kind of everything that'll go. And then maybe 10, 20 years from now, it might settle back down. But I think the cult origins of horror are pretty much done now. You know, everybody loves it. And I hate it.
There's one thing.
Let's shut this panel down.
I like to throw in.
I'm depressed. Where's the booze at? Up or out?
We track it all.
I know, already.
It was
Second
gone
question.
before we even
It's the
go.
second question. Is
It
there
is.
any booze left?
There's one thing that I could definitely say for the horror
Well, it's not
industry,
your turn.
and I know, but I really want to say
Let's
this
just
because
slide.
there's one thing that I can say for the horror industry, no matter what time we're in, it definitely has the most dedicated fan base out of any genre, no doubt,
Absolutely.
hands down, no questions asked, and it will continue to do that because there will always be people who like crazy stuff. I mean, like there will always be somebody. So. And that's a really good thing. So.
I mean, I've been to drama realm though, and they are pretty crazy
Drama.
over there.
Yeah, there's
Romantic comedy realm is also a cool place to visit.
Yeah, they have
They have a free Sunday afternoon.
They bring in therapists.
Humor inside every panel.
Number 3, and that's in the third question. I hope you have a lot of bonus questions. We're to the point here. No one's arguing. This is a panel where if you're not here, usually the other panels are more argumentative.
Yeah.
People are like,
Well,
no.
there's Tim Gross always yelling.
Oh, there it is.
Where's
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
I don't know what happened.
We locked in the
Where is
bathroom.
he?
Would still be a question mark.
This is mine.
This starts off with you, and then we'll go round robin as we've been doing. Which horror character in a book or film would you be?
Oh, jeez.
Elaborate on why you would be that horror character.
There has to be one.
Honestly,
Yes.
if I was gonna say the one that I would really like to be, and of course nobody's gonna know, it's the one that we thought of, which was Jeffrey, and it's a character that is designed for me, and that I'm gonna play in a film that Benzy Dream is actually from, and that is it doesn't count. So if I have to honestly say but
Freddy
that's-
Krueger.
no, I wouldn't say Freddy. I would say Lionel's mother.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Would you really eat a dog though?
I would probably. I would
I would put
eat
that dog
my
like out
son.
here.
I would eat my son.
Yeah, that's-
I would totally. Do that.
That's cool. All right. Why don't you elaborate on who Lionel's mother is?
Oh, do we? I thought everybody knew it.
Well, there could be people out there.
it's probably the best horror movie ever done. It's Dead Alive, man. Dead Alive.
AKA
I mean,
also
it's-
known
it's-
as.
Yeah.
What is the?
Also known as.
Peter Jackson thinks Dead Alive is absurd.
Brain
It
Dead.
is. It's great. It's great. It is.
He's like,
Sweat when that movie's done, you're sweating.
It is great.
What just
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's loaded. It's absolutely loaded. It's.
Stand back, boy. This calls for divine intervention.
I kick ass for the Lord.
I've never seen Benzy going for Father's
double,
Day.
There's so many lines in that movie, like, your mother ate my dog. I mean,
That's my moment. This is awesome.
and then when the guys are chasing him, I'm like, what is that?
It is. It's so. It's out of control. It's great. It's brilliant. So that's who I.
Alright. Bad taste or Dead Alive.
I gotta go with Dead Alive. And honestly, anything. I mean, Peter Jackson just hands down. I mean, come on, bad taste, Dead Alive. Then on
Hobbit.
the
He just
Lord
always
of the
comes
Rings.
out.
Like, come on, dude. That guy's he's on it.
You can't blame him for The Hobbit. That was
Well, we'll take The Hobbit too.
that was a contractual obligation.
You know what's all I know? I'd have 19 Hobbits coming out every 6 weeks. Yeah. All right. David, would you like me to repeat that question?
Yes, who we be?
Which horror character in a book or film?
I would go with, if anybody's ever seen the remake of The Blob in the 80s, which was decent, I'd go with Brian Flagg, Kevin Dillon character. Because back then I did have a denim jacket, a bad mullet, and no one listened to me. So, that's my character.
And Kevin Dillon rules.
Yes.
Entourage, anybody? I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
his time has come. Sam.
I would want to be somebody kind of the opposite of who I am, so I'd want to be somebody really mean and that would kill a lot of people. So I was kind of like torn between, obviously I'm going to stick with a woman, so I was torn between like Countess Dracula because I'm a huge Ingrid Pitt fan and I love that movie, and you're staying young by bathing in the blood of
Oh,
virgins.
yes.
Wouldn't you?
Yes.
And a newer favorite is it's kind of cheesy, but Pam from True Blood, because she's a smart ass. She kills people. She's a great sense of style. Always has great lines.
I always thought I would be like Schneider from One Day at a Time. Like, horror
That's the
characters.
best. Stop.
Okay, done. That's it. I mean, how cool is Schneider, really? Man. I mean, ultimately, though, I know it's such a bad way to turn, but I would be like a hot vampire. Let's face it, guys. I'd be like a hot werewolf or a vampire. Think Twilight. That's not my pick, but that's probably just what I'd be stereotyped. So, yeah. No, if anything, I'd probably have to be like a Freddy Krueger or like Funny Man. Did anybody ever see Funny Man? It's like Australian version of Freddy Krueger. Check it out. I mean, you gotta check this movie out. Like he's like a weird type clown / I like Freddy because he can just like make things happen. Like that book can just rip your face off. And then I'll be like, what? Like he doesn't even have to move, and there's no way to beat him, and he just sucks. And if you're a Freddy nightmare, just give up and just stab yourself with the claw, and you know what I mean? Because there's no way out of that. Like I think like they're so hopeless being in a Freddy movie. So that's what I think of. Like if I would be a deranged psycho killer, I would like to do that. You look like you have. Why don't you tell us who you'd be? Or I'd be a crap like
No, Freddy Krueger isn't I would want I would be something that would
It's
just
horrifying. What? I'm horrified over here by everyone saying they want to be Freddy Krueger. He's a child molester.
Only in the remake he was. The original. He was intended.
You might need to leave. Nobody else was thinking.
Yeah, nobody took that from that answer.
Nobody else.
He like sucks you in the bed and just
And I would be played
Of
by.
course he sucks you into the bed.
I would be played by the new remake Freddy Krueger, not Robert.
You would be the.
I would be the remake Freddy. He's a little meaner. But, I like the guy that played the remake Freddy. He's cool dude.
I do like Freddy.
He answered me on Twitter one day.
He was on the guy.
He's like this to me. He answered me on Twitter one day.
That's how he gained my respect. He was on the guy.
There you go, see it? Done. There it is. Hey, it's in RoboCop. The remake, of course, the good one, not the old original crappy remake. Let's get that out of the way. The fourth question. I'm going to go back. David. What kinds of trends or evolution do you expect to see in the horror world of film and books in the future? What would you? That's A. Part B is what would you like to see?
Well, all right. We're all familiar with the Universal monsters. Everybody knows who they are. And our generation after that was, we had Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Pinhead. I'd like to see, in the past 10 years, there's nobody really memorable. Maybe Samara from The Ring, and that's not so much. Like, there's no household name monster lately, and there's just remakes. I'd like to see something new come out that took the world by storm, and we're talking about this guy now, or this monster now. There hasn't been anything like that. I mean, Twilight just falls short. Well, Jigsaw, that's a point case. He's around. We got that. I need more of that, though, and maybe monster-wise, not just serial killing people. I'm tired of crazy people. We have those in our lives every day with work. So I'd say let's get a new monster out there in literature and movies that everybody is familiar with, whether they're laughing or running away from. That's what I'd like to see.
I'm glad you said that, because one of my next books has a bunch of new monsters.
Cool. I'm in.
I'm writing a story about this doll that gets possessed by a serial killer and he goes around trying to you wait till you see this. It's gonna be
A couple sequels. Yeah.
Oh, I already see it. That a prequel?
Right,
It'll be a good one. Sandy, same question. Would you like me to repeat? Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute, that way. Let's go back to you. Let's go back to you. You gave us what would you like to see?
What do I expect?
What kinds of trends or evolution do you expect to see? You want to see that, but do you think we will?
No, I think I already heard they're redoing the Universal monsters now, and they're all going to be in one world together, and yeah, so we're going to see them again. Will they do it correctly? Is it going to be Abbott and Costello meets all of them again, or is it going to be like a real thing, a universe like Marvel and DC? I'd like to see that done well, but I don't know that we need it again unless they do it right. I want to see a new creature from the Black Lagoon remade, Rob Zombie, whoever wants to do it, whatever. I don't think we're going to see anything original. That's what I'm afraid of. So that's why I'm trying to do things original myself. That's what why I did this, was because I got mad. One day I'm like, we did something new.
Yeah,
I'm tired of
actually, why don't you
regurgitating.
elaborate on some of your creatures in there?
Oh, well, every chapter is a different monster, and I don't want to give too much away, but like each one's original and straight from my head. I mean, something may seem familiar to you, but there's nothing that you've seen in a movie with these things in it. I was always inspired by little things that can creep up on you, hide under your bed, and so I definitely, that's chapter 6. But it's hard to explain. Like Evil Dead, I love the fact, just these things that you just can't stop. But I also give the humans powers too. People that we would consider sick in our society actually have the means to destroy the demons or see them when they're coming. So the crazy person sitting in the back of your class, maybe what he's seeing is real, you just don't see it. Those are the people that actually become the heroes, if you want to call it that, because not everybody survives. But yeah, the monsters, I combined a lot of things from 60s and 50s sci-fi up until like Lovecraft. A lot of Lovecraftian stuff, I will say that. I borrowed a lot from, who wouldn't borrow from Lovecraft? But that's basically what you got there in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away, I can't.
Oh, sorry.
So you want to try that?
It's good. It's good.
True master of service.
That's pretty.
What is this? This iced tea?
Got a girl
Oh.
and like
It's
gas
a
pump.
hard cider.
No, it's
It's
my
got gas
boyfriend's.
pumps
It's
on
my
it.
boyfriend's
That's
hard
probably
cider.
It's a homemade hard cider by
You sell
Chris's
this back
boyfriend.
as well?
Look,
He brewed that batch specifically for the store opening, and that's the last of it that I have left over.
This is an intermission.
They're good. They're good.
Give Sandy time to prepare for her.
Alright, I need to.
I know, right?
I don't want to take it all. I want to ration it out. And then,
This is how it
Go
starts.
Bootleggers, at least for
How much
us,
you
yeah,
want?
that's big.
well, that's good, that's fun in a panel.
8. Ooh,
It's a hard side.
It's
Okay,
it's hard.
it is, it's good.
Who made this?
My boyfriend. He also, he only did he did that batch just for me.
It's
But he
from
brews all kinds of mead and he does sell that if you're ever
Cheers.
interested.
Oh,
Cool.
Cheers.
I don't really drink very much at all, so no.
It warms you up inside.
Wait.
That's because it's made with love and alcohol.
And alcohol, of course.
Yeah,
All
alcohol.
right, back in session here. Sandy, question number 4. What kinds of trends or evolution do you expect to see in the horror world of film and books in the future? And what would you like to see?
Okay. Gee, I don't know what to expect to see. I know what's I've seen things getting more and more extreme in terms of gore and killing and more short attention span type stuff. So a lot of like more anthology movies and ABC's of horror and that kind of thing. You only have to watch a little snippet at a time. If you don't like that piece, you can fast forward. I'm not a fan of that kind of stuff. I prefer more of a story to it, which is why I'm kind of old school in terms of I'm a big horror Hammer fan. So I've liked a lot of the Hammer movies and that they have a story and characters and beautiful scenery and beautiful costumes. And what I would like to see is more coming out of that studio. They just basically have revived themselves. They had Let Me In. They had The Woman in Black. And is it The Dear Ones? Just recent. I haven't seen that yet, but I'd like to see more of that kind of storytelling as opposed to just being all visual. Blood, guts, gore. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I think I might be able to combine these 2 questions. In the independent horror is that it's one thing. It's like summer hits, summer misses. But as far as what's going to happen and what I'd like to see happen, it's one of those things where Hollywood originally was a group of people that did not want to do the norm, that took a chance, that went out and rolled the dice. There's so much safe play, the remakes, the this, the that, the reason why you're not seeing the creatures is because nobody has the guts. Oh my God, we gotta throw something new into it? Well, that's a problem. If you're not willing to throw something new into it, you're not willing to take a chance, you've got a big problem. It has to keep itself fresh. It has to, there's people definitely need to, step up the game with that and wanting to do something different, with the genre and keep it going. And that's, I guess it kind of answers both of them. If it doesn't happen that way, it's just going to keep, it's on a slow downgrade. Whereas the only people that can be in it are the independent guys, which cool. That's fine. We'll just keep doing it. That's what we love to do. But like on the other hand, it's really not good to play it safe sometimes, and with the remakes and everything like that, it's just and no honest fan likes it, and honestly I don't know how much money they're making off of what they're doing, but it's just like, kids nowadays, it's they got the digital, they get the whole world right at their fingertips. It's like, you really have to step up, throw them a curveball, once in a while, and no one seems to be doing that. And that's one of the things that I'd like to see. I'd like to see somebody actually get the guts again and say, yeah, let's release this new character on a big screen and see what happens. It's not, it's not every day you see it. Like back in the day, it was, Freddy, Jason, you had Leatherface, and everybody, and the drive-in was that's where you went. Like, it was great. But the whole atmosphere thing, man, it was memorable times, yeah, it was, it's like, yeah, you know, it's different like that, and I think, honestly, I think it's really important to bring some of that back into it. And the only way you're going to do that is to get the guts and release it, you know, and you're going to roll the dice, see what happens, just like they did when they originally started Hollywood.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Was it?
Yeah.
You were connected. It was because
It's this stuff.
it was the-
I didn't hear one word you said.
I
was
didn't
staring.
hear
I was
one word I
staring.
said.
I think he was like, oh, that's how you debate.
I need to see the dailies on that. We might need to cut that whole part out.
Yeah, okay, all right, with seeing something new, I don't think, I mean, you can look at a lot of different mediums right now, and we're not in a creative culture with the push on technology where you're saying this. Everything is so easy to get there. If you look at anything, it is a rehash or a repeat of something that's already been done. Me and Mike have pro wrestling debates all the time. It's hard to ever have another Hulk Hogan or a Stone Cold or a Rock because it's been done. What is next? And it takes these creative geniuses out there to give us a Freddy Krueger, a Jason. And I mean, back in the day, it was always like, who could kick whose butt? Like, and then like Michael Myers was even in the mix. Like, everybody was like, oh, he sucked. You know what I mean? But like, I was always a fan of Freddy versus Jason just because I thought it was just a landmark thing to see them. And you know, I know the true fans are out there like, shh, what a amateur. But I liked that type of film. And I remember, like, when Child's Play came out, the first one, it was like one of the first times the trailer for it was an actual advertisement of crowd reaction. I remember people talking about it, like, this is the new Freddy, and like, move over Jason, move over Freddy, now Chucky's back, you know what I mean? And then it was like, oh, Chucky's back, I don't think. And yeah, it's going to take something like that, but we don't, honestly, we don't encourage that though as fans. We don't. Something comes out, everyone's going to be like, unless you're a cheesy, low-budget person, Hollywood's never going to give that to you. Because if any, I mean, when I go to Horror Realm, when I walk around and we come to these panels, I see every indie guy is so jaded that Hollywood could give you the greatest horror film of all time, and the majority of us would go, psh. Like, psh, it's Hollywood, it's stupid, it made $400 billion, so therefore it's not cool.
It's because
You know what I
it's
mean?
like been instilled into you to be like.
I know, but you gotta open your mind up.
You do,
I mean,
you do. But after so many years of disappointment, you know, it's like what is it?
and like the example I use in a film that I love is Cloverfield. Yeah, new original monster. We all wanted one. Well, it's shaky
I
camera.
love that movie. Yeah, it got
Stupid.
a lot of flack. Yeah.
You don't even know where it comes from. You're not supposed to. You know, and not a horror movie, but like Pacific Rim. Like, okay, giant robots fighting monsters. Cool.
I love that movie.
You know, if you're not an anime fan, you'd never see something like that.
Yes.
And people are like, well, what's the story about? I don't go for stories to see that film. You're an asshole if you went to the film expecting Shakespeare. You are. I go to pay whatever, $100, $200 to go see. So I'm going to go pay another, I don't know how much, it'll be $30 to see Ghostbusters on Sunday out at the waterfront. And I'm going to go and I'm going to eat chicken fingers. I'm going to drink a beer. And I'm going to have a blast doing that. And it's a movie that's 30 years old. I'll be there 2:45 tomorrow. We got food already. They sent me free. Kind of a big deal. I'll talk about it though. So that's the thing. We would not know if a new monster came walking by us. We would not know because I think we would become so jaded. And there are original ideas coming out. I think Feast, the first Feast.
Oh yes, love that.
And then 2 and 3 kind of went off the, you know. But the first Feast was something where you were like, oh, this was like borderline dead alive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is it don't, it doesn't, whether, I don't know what happened to that. Maybe it didn't make $1 billion, but it's not going to get supported. It doesn't matter. Remakes always make their money enough to make a sequel. I think the only one that didn't was Friday the 13th, that remake. And they're going to reboot that again. But Nightmare on Elm Street made what it was. It made its money back. So as long as people are still going, and I'll go and see every remake in the theater. I always go with the hopes of this thing could be amazing.
I do the same thing. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm usually the ones I like. People are usually hate, and I just have to be like, yeah, I didn't like it either. I mean, I like the new. I like the new Nightmare. I thought it was a darker, edgier, what it should have been. And people are like, oh, yeah, he's not Robert Englund, because he's 100 years old and he can't do it anymore. We have to move on. We'll never let those people go. Good thing Jason has a mask, you know. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, when they remake Hellraiser, it could be the greatest thing ever. But if Doug Bradley's not, you're not gonna go down there and get Doug Bradley's autograph at the next Horror Realm and say, man, the new Hellraiser's pretty cool, because you feel bad. But it could be the greatest thing ever. But we're just gonna be like, Doug Bradley's not in it. He's not in it. So it doesn't matter, it's not cool. So you see, that's where I think that problem comes in. We don't accept anything new. Shame on us.
I hope you all go home and think about what you've done.
Shame on all of us. Thank you. Let's just drink this and get out of here. I don't even know what the next question is. What is it? That's it. You have bonus rounds now.
Yes, I do.
It's a speed round. You gotta answer.
Yes,
Well, we're
oh,
not
go
ready
ahead.
for
Looks like you
Are we ready for questions from the audience? The man in the white shirt.
I think you're wrong.
You always start every sentence. NWO was for life.
I mean, because there are a lot of remakes now. All the CGI and special effects are much better now than they ever were before, because the technology is better. But I mean, myself personally, I don't think there's been a good horror film since Jacob's Ladder. And that's what I wanted to ask you guys: is what do you think was the last good horror film?
Friday the 13th, Part 5.
Does that have Corey Feldman in it?
Hell no.
That's the one.
The beginning, that's
Jason's not even in it.
It's the one with
No,
the
man, a good horror movie.
That's a
Can I
big
field
movie,
this
too.
one real quick?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I good horror movie straight up was The Exorcist. It was like
The beginning, the
serious.
prequel. I know you were a fan.
It was the beginning of The Exorcist.
There it is.
No, the original Exorcist, man. I think it was the ability to. This is the hard thing nowadays. You have to manipulate your audience to feel that terror. So how do you take the audience nowadays that is so hardened to all this other stuff and make them feel like they felt when they watched The Exorcist? That's the key part, and that's what starts on paper with writing. How are you going to do this? And that's The Exorcist to me was one of, if not the greatest horror movie ever. I mean, that was destroying lives while people watched that. They were freaked out. They were, and that I think is what you need to harness to get that really solid. What is horror? It's like something that you toss and turn at night because you don't want to go to bed. It's something that you implant into that audience's mind that just keeps them thinking over and over again about like what freaked them out about it. How does it
I think I'm going to elaborate a little bit on that. And I know we're not even close to answering his question.
we're probably not.
I think we're just still about it. I think the problem is with nowadays is that you can't, if you don't relate to a character, and this is just storytelling 101. If you're not relating to a character, you don't care if they die. So slashing films now are more brutal than ever. But if I'm not, when you were little, the things that haunted your dreams are like, did you see what that did to him? Back to Freddy Krueger, when I remember at the video store watching the why would they have Freddy Krueger? It was Dream Warriors, which I think is the best.
I love that one.
Because Dawkins, you could buy the soundtrack right next to it, And when he's that big snake thing, and they were just showing the trailer for this, and he's eating, and I'm like, and the one girl they changed, the actor with her and everything, and but Nancy, you got to grow. You kind of grew with Nancy and kind of, formed a bond with her, and it sucked when, but nowadays it's like, it's always like, oh, they're doing something, and people did something wrong, and now they're going to be punished or whatever like that. But I think you got to connect to people, that's something in a day and age where everything's so quick, we don't have the 5 minutes to sit down and actually pay attention to the story of you know, we're missing things is what I, you know. That was not even remotely anything to what you were saying.
I mean, you know, we're just,
Did it make you any?
it's one of those
That
questions.
was not the
Well, it's
last
one of those-
horror movie that was scary.
It's one of those.
Aliens.
One of those questions where you're just, you know, everybody's gonna.
You start spinning. That question made me start spinning
Yeah.
in different directions. I think if Tim Gross was here, he would say one of the last. I mean, I'm currently reading Gross reviews. That sucker. It makes me laugh all the time. But better them than we. I think Dawn of the Dead, the remake. If it wasn't called Dawn of the Dead, it would have been a fantastic film. If it was called Zombies Chase People to a New Mall, it would have been one of the greatest movies of all time.
I liked it. I actually saw the remake before I saw the original.
Oh, okay.
And I really did like it.
The original becomes slow and boring after you see the new one, but you gotta take it as like, you gotta do this to those two things. You know?
That's a great title.
Zombies chase you. And they're not even zombies, it's crazy.
It's like a snakes on a plane.
Which was a phenomenal movie. What happened? Why don't people like that movie?
Because it was fun. It was ridiculous. It's like, you know, you sat down and it's like, well, it's like sitting down in the 80s, man, and just watching like a movie that was just like, all right, whatever.
When we were so excited. Yeah, we were so excited when that movie came out. I walked out there loving it. I didn't know I was supposed to hate it. All of the horror fans will be like this. And then you go, shit, I thought I liked it, but I was wrong, dude. You're right, I hate it, because that's how horror
You get
fans
the same
are.
kind of phenomenon. It's not horror, but the Sharknado movies. I mean,
Yeah.
they're so bad, and the CGI
They're so bad,
is
they're
so
good.
bad that they're good, and it's just a fun time to sit
We were
down
at
and watch.
that Indianapolis. Tara Reid was the biggest hit there because of Sharknado. She had a line of people wrapped around her all day long. It's $15 for a picture, and she was an idiot. I mean,
Tara Reid?
Idiot, who said?
and Corey Feldman, but we won't get into that. But to answer your question, I got two. Sinister I thought was good for the mainstream. I like Sinister.
Mr. Boogans, is that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like that one, but if you like werewolves, Dog Soldiers is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Okay, yeah.
That's in the past 10 years, I think, within the past 10 years.
Yeah.
That's foreign, of course, but that was a fantastic movie. That's going back to like Howling days of werewolves, so I like that one.
Howling too.
That was good. Solid.
I liked one of the last. I don't go out to see very many new movies. I just kind of take what people give me or so. I'll get killed for this probably, but I liked Your Next. I thought it was kind of almost a throwback to a slasher. It had some humor to it. It wasn't really taking itself terribly serious, and you know, like the ending was interesting. So
It kept you guessing, and I don't want to spoil the ending makes you mad because you want something to happen, and it doesn't.
It's cool to see a micro budget director get a direct contract. He's his first film director for $5,000. And his whole crew he brought with him. Why it took him 5 years to get released. It's still a small movie.
Stop by.
Wrote three strings at the beginning.
Thank you.
I would like to question former. I don't say it all.
Midnight Coterie, Solicitor Tree.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I'd love to see that movie.
No, I would too.
I would go
It
see
had
it.
like the Tenenbaums. Like it was awesome.
The reviews of it. New York Times says happy at Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that's it.
Fangoria magazine says fuck.
Yeah, what is this? What's a bonus question?
Okay, bonus question. One of my bonus questions is, because you're all in horror all the time, you may or may not have experienced a certain nightmare or something. I'd like to hear about anything you have that might have, you know, stimulated the creation of a creature or a book character or something like that. If you want to share the actual nightmare, especially since you looked it up, I'd like that too. Just curious more of the deeper inner mind of horror fanatics.
Are you setting me up? Because the first chapter was a nightmare that I had, and it made its way into the Beagle the Bizarro. The whole first chapter was just this extreme fever dream that I had, and the publisher liked it so much. He said, "Can you elaborate on this?" And I never wanted it to be anything more. I had other stuff I wanted to do, but he liked that, and it became this. I just developed it into more of that nightmare. But yeah, the first, I guess, 15 pages of this was one nightmare I had, and it moved like 28 days later. Just when you have a fever and things just go like that. And I wrote it all down, and it worked. So yeah.
So how many nights did you have that? Was it just one night?
That was just one.
And you woke up and probably just wrote it all
Yeah,
down?
yeah, because the reoccurring one is like school, and I don't know my schedule, and
Oh, I have that one
paper
too.
due.
That
and
makes
Yeah, that one's the worst.
Jeez,
That one's
everybody had that. Like, what period is it?
Yeah.
Where's my class? I hate it.
What is that? Yeah.
That's your next horror movie. College, where's your class?
I like that. That's a recurring dream. Go to my laundry.
All right, so
I don't think I have anything to contribute to this. My nightmares are more like my guests didn't show up for the convention.
That's pretty horrific.
well, it's at least it's horror related. Does anything happen? Do any monsters pop out in those?
I don't have very many monster-y type nightmares. No.
She fears nothing.
I have very lucid dreams. I remember a lot of them, but they're usually not scary or nightmare.
I think I have the least to contribute on this one.
He doesn't sleep, he just waits.
I wait for it. I actually beg for nightmares to get ideas, and it never happens anymore.
So you don't like maybe watch a couple horror movies, go to bed, and hope that you.
It's like it doesn't happen anymore. It's really, really, really strange. The most terrifying dream I ever had, I'll never forget it. This is probably what screwed me up. I was actually in my crib, and Lou Ferrigno as the Incredible Hulk used to climb my attic, and it was absolutely terrifying. It was terrifying. He was climbing up my attic. There was a green man in my attic, and it messed me up. And I really wish I could be like that. That would be really awesome to actually have that.
I have a lot of them.
fear,
That's
you know,
why I was curious if other people.
Hopefully you watch.
Oh, I
now,
did.
now I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna seek therapy because of this.
We went on a vacation when I was little. My parents always teased me the Mothman was
Nice.
trying to get me. No, that's my story. No, actually that's hers. I just truly stories. I don't really have dreams. I'm not a sissy. You know what I mean? Like I'm not scared of
I'm not
stuff.
scared of my nightmares. I love
You're
them.
afraid
They're
of
awesome.
Mothman.
No,
He's
I
gonna
wake
get
up
you.
and
We
I
all know
don't
this.
want to wake up because it was so cool. That's all.
That was totally her story. I just stole it.
That was my
I'm
story.
scared to death of my neighbors, man.
Yeah, I'm scared of
Like, that's real horror.
Real stuff.
That's real horror, dude. It's like they look so normal.
It's like my job. That's a nightmare. And I'm not paying my bills.
So do you have one, Jason?
No, not really.
No
I mean,
nightmares?
Tommy's trying to get me, but I'm usually I can get away from it.
Most people have an apocalypse dream. We haven't any of those.
At that, you know, you get the falling down and can't get up. You know, it's always the little, those little things. You
Phone can't get
know,
up.
I don't want that. I'm not there yet.
I mean, but you're saying you're
But I was just
scared.
saying, like, you know, when you fall down and then like you keep stumbling over because something's after you. You know, I think, you know what? That's here's my answer. This is my answer. This is my answer because I don't know what's after, and it's the anticipation.
So you don't see.
I never see it. It's the anticipation. There is something there. It's like that one. I hate to bring up video games right now, but it's seriously like one of the best concepts was, it was called amnesia or something. Or you never see what's chasing you, and it's absolutely the most terrifying thing to shut the lights off and play this thing. The sound design is so spot on. There is stuff that's happening over here, 5 rooms down. You can hear it, and it's all sound design. But it's so much. It's great because you don't see it, and that was like, I think that was one of my big things with horror and stuff. Is it's like, don't show everything.
Yeah,
It's already there.
All right, I'm
You know,
gonna elaborate on that though. Unless it's the new Godzilla. I want to see Godzilla.
Right.
Don't tease me for
Right.
3 hours
I don't
and
wanna,
give
like,
me
not show you
15
Godzilla.
minutes.
Yeah.
horrible. Fall asleep like Godzilla shut up that back of the. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I like in moderation too. Oh, you can't tease me. Is that the question? Answer.
Nightmares.
Nightmares.
I have another one now. Don't you worry. We'll start with you, Jason. This one.
I'll do your hair.
No.
I don't know.
In regards to, we could use horror movies, horror books on this one, like something you've read or seen that has stuck with you and actually caused you fear. Something that you're afraid of. What?
I don't want to be human centipede.
Clowns?
I don't know. Yeah, I've never seen it. I got the gist. Don't want it. If Freddy would ever see, my ultimate nightmare would be if Freddy Krueger watched Human Centipede and then came into your dream.
He would mercifully cut you apart.
Yeah, I mean, like, what?
Some people are afraid of clowns and things like that.
I'm not.
So you're a centipede.
No, I don't want a human centipede. Not a centipede. I don't mind centipede. A human centipede. I do not want that. I think that's pretty much probably everybody's answer. I'll tell you right now, he don't want to be a human centipede.
I don't know.
The front ain't bad. The front though, the front ain't bad. I don't want to be last.
The front
It could be better.
yeah, Mike, it could be
That's the worst thing you could ever have.
It's tough, man, because it goes back to what I opened up with. You know, you become hardened to so much stuff, and there's positives and negatives with that. I can tell you one thing that actually it was Tony Todd, and it was Candyman.
Oh yeah.
It was Candyman, and honestly, it was odd for a day or two looking into a bathroom mirror. It was odd. I mean, it really was, and it was, it was one of those things that got me into it. I mean, obviously, Tony's played. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor. I think he's, done much better, things than that. But he was just so engrossing. What's that? What's that?
MacGyver.
Cool.
Wow. I've had two buddies that were cool.
I don't know. I guess when I was a kid, I was very, very afraid of the attic that opened into our bedroom, like the stairs from our bedroom. So like one time the door was open ajar and we thought somebody was up there. So I think that's kind of stuck with me all my life, that like spooky places like the attic and the basement. And the first time I saw Blair Witch Project, when I saw them in the basement, and that kind of brought that back to me. That totally creeps me out. I cannot watch that anymore. But it's kind of like that kind of thing, the scary, dark places, claustrophobic places. Don't let me in a closet somewhere.
David?
I would have to say, growing up on Long Island when Jaws came out the first time, going into the ocean was a feat in itself. And yeah, I was an amateur lifeguard, if you will, back then. I had to take tests in the ocean. So it was a weird thing. You had to overcome that fear because they were there. I mean, it's a real monster. They're out there, and they're out close to Montauk, not near the public beaches, but it's always in the back of your head. But yeah, I'd have to say Jaws. That was real. That's a real monster. That's a real thing that could happen. So, and it did happen in Red Bank, New Jersey, actually. 5 people. Yeah, you know about that. Yeah, so yeah, Spielberg stole that script, but and elaborated. But yeah, I have to say sharks, great whites, and being in the ocean as a kid. Yeah, I got over it later. I was talking with you, we go in the ocean all the time now.
We vacation where they have shark fishing tournaments.
Do you threaten him?
So.
Nah, it took a lot to get her out there, but then she loves it. When you're in the waves and everything, you don't think about it anymore. You really don't. You're having too much fun. Until somebody says, I just saw something, then everybody's out. It's like, what did you see? It could have been a dolphin, but even that's not so good either because they feed in the same places. So. But yeah, so that was a big one.
I'm going to share mine on this one too. Of all things, I've always thought dolls were a little bit creepy. And I think it was the Haunting in Connecticut, that little, what's the name of that doll, Annabelle?
Oh, that was The Conjuring, yeah.
Or that was The Conjuring, okay.
Yeah,
that
was good.
But just, like if you see a doll and it's sitting there and it's got this creepy, just porcelain face staring at you, and then, you turn around and do your stuff and it's moved. I mean, that's something that's small that can hide. I know there was a movie a long time ago that had a bunch of dolls that would just,
Dead Silence.
Yeah.
Dead Silence.
I
Right.
can't remember the name.
That was a good one.
Puppet Mask.
Oh yeah.
Versus demonic tours.
Yeah, so I stay
the
away
best
from
in this series.
I stay away from the doll movies these days. necessarily
Don't
frame them,
man
but if
this
anything
person.
were to creep me out, that would be it. I wouldn't want to be chased by them. But that's all I have, so if anybody in the audience has anything else, Jason.
We'll turn it over for questions. Okay, none? All right. You know you have something to say. Just say it. He's over there taking notes. I'm watching you. My favorite color?
What?
What's my favorite color?
Sure. What's your favorite color?
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. Nothing. That's it. She told you you're not allowed to ask questions. I'm good with this. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Is that what you wanted? That's all.
All right. I'll do the ending. But thank you everyone for coming out. If you guys want to promote something that you do for everybody to know about, if you have business cards, you want to give those to people, that's cool too. You have your book, you have your convention, you have Benzy, you have there's book. So take a minute to go ahead and tell everybody about that again, and then we'll wrap it up.
What about this? I've been talking about it. Debut novel, and because it did moderately well, my publisher gave me at least 3 more books, not going to be sequels, totally different things. There's going to be an anthology with our buddy John Russo, actually, that's on the anthology, going along the timeline of The Night of the Living Dead and everybody, like short stories that follow in with George Romero and George Russo's script. So that's coming out pretty soon. That's going to be pretty cool. So I'm honored to be in that. So that's the next thing for me.
Where can everybody find you?
Well, the cards are here, but definitely it's fairlydarkproductions.com. It's all on here. Please take one. I have a bunch of these things. And I'd rather, you listen to the radio show too and get to know me more and the music and the artists and have people like yourselves on here all the time, including jaded directors, independent directors that hate Hollywood too. We get a lot of those. And a lot of good music and stuff. So that's what's going on right now with Kettle Whistle Radio. So I'll put some more out. You guys take them. Hit me up on Facebook and Twitter. Appreciate it.
I don't, but my partner Rich has a radio show on from Dustin Till Con Network every Friday night, midnight, Horror Realm Radio. Just kind of talking horror. They do a bottom 5 movie review, so we'll pick a category, pick the 5 worst movies in that category, get a little discussion going. September 26th at the Hollywood Theater, we have a screening of Creepshow. We're trying to get some guests along. It's a benefit for the theater. We'll have a special poster design for it, and we'll have a silent auction, so that'll be some fun. And our next convention is our Spring Break Massacre for 2015, March 6th through 8th. Don't have any guests to announce yet, but we're working on it.
Great. Thank you, Sandy.
Like you said, best way to find us is just PittsburghFX.com. You can get my radio and Facebook and stay in touch that way. As far as upcoming projects, we are trying to decide the best one.
Put the deer on your reel? You should.
What's that?
So did you put the deer on there?
No, actually, my reel is from 2011.
We're not gonna fetch that stuff.
No,
We're not gonna do that from what I'm in.
Just
I threw a strike.
tell me when you want to finish it. I'll finish it.
You have a Facebook page too.
Yeah, just Benzy.
So it's under Benzy.
Yeah, just Google Benzy or Benzy Trees or something.
It's
You'll
personal.
find-
If
you'll find-
you're only
you'll
friends
find
with
crap
Benzy,
everywhere.
he has a personal page. If you're not on that,
Yeah,
it's
it's
really-
Strava.
yeah, it's Strava.
It's like a Rocky IV character.
That is your last name. It's something like that. You guys know where to find me. I'm not gonna do that. Right, currently I'm remodeling my deck. Okay, if anybody wants some help doing that, you come on now. That's my newest project. I'm working on an 85 Firebird and I'm remodeling my deck. All right, who wants to come and cut boards next Saturday?
And the red dragon with the little juice.
Yeah. Oh, I took the
That's where
restricted
the
plate
after
off.
party is at right now, right?
What's that?
Right after this, that's where we're going,
It
right?
would totally would be, but my hot tub is down. Ask everybody. Well, Cole, you know, our hot tub's in
It's
pieces.
terrible. Front
My
porch
deck's
is
in
too small to
pieces.
fit
My
anybody
life's
on
in
it.
shambles. Any questions?
You can sit in the yard.
Let's go to the
Actually,
bar.
that sounds like a horror chair.
Yeah,
I
my
know,
life's
I
in
know.
Bring your own chair,
shambles
right?
right now. God, really
For your
questions?
chair,
Well,
we
if
have like
anyone wants to
6.
rewatch the episode, you can find it on Solstice NightSky Productions. That's on Facebook as well, and it'll be on YouTube. November 1st, Ghost Panel.
Which one?
This one. Well, just Wait, what? I didn't even hear you.
No, I said, you said a couple of months or a month or two. I was like, we'll take your pick.
Well, yeah, you know, whenever I get. Well, the
No, I
next
get it.
panel
It's
is
getting
November
fancy.
1st.
So we're all guilty, that's why.
Yeah. The next panel is November 1st, so it'll be out before then. So that is something I can definitely do. All right. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. Thanks again, Chris Rickert, Rickert Beagle, and see you
That's how you panel.
And thank you for moderating.
That is how you panel. You know what I mean?
Thank you,
That is how
panelists,
panel.
and thank you for.
I'll be better than Tim Gross. Let's take a vote.
Everybody can clap.
Do you have somebody that impersonates you?
Thank
you, Chris.
That's